All right. Let's filter in people. Jeez. All right. All right. Hello, guys. Good evening. We will have Santangelo join us soon. I'm just starting the current stream, and we'll have Santangelo join. We'll be able to answer everything about the game. Obviously, Milan coming away with a 1-0 victory over Monza. Rather uninspiring, which we'll really get into in a moment. But for the time being, we're just going to talk quickly about today's performance. Obviously, if you have been subscribed to the channel, you do know that I went live after the Milan-Napoli match. Unfortunately, Matt and I have not been able to record a podcast so far. It's just going to take a little bit of time. I had to start back up with work, and Matt is also busy doing different things. So I apologize for that. We will try and get more episodes out as soon as we possibly can. So yeah, I think it'll be very important to discuss with Matt. Really dull kind of game today. Just again, one of those types of performances that you're just happy that Milan were able to just at least get the 3 points, but essentially almost every single thing outside of that is really frustrating and continues to be so regarding the defense, conceding some of the chances that they were conceding. Very fortunate that Monza did not score at all, if not just a few. Daniele Maldini was one of those players that had a great first half, and I thought he was active throughout the entirety of the match, and we saw a full display of what he was really capable of. The finishing was just really lackluster, and that was essentially the story of the entire game for both sides, that they just did not have a lot in terms of finishing. The goal creation was there from both sides. It's very surprising to see it end up 1-0 in terms of Milan's favor. The one goal that ended up being finished was Morata's header being rebounded, and then Tijjani Reijnders, right place, right time. Once again, for him, he has been on a scoring streak. So really not much to be happy about, if we're being quite honest here. I think with Milan, you just have to come away with the 3 points. There's no injuries. And yeah, stinker. I thought Leão was fine outside of his finishing, like usual. I'm not a big fan of his finishing. I've always said that he hasn't had good finishing. So it's the one thing I think people, if they get upset about, you deserve every opinion in terms of that. I think, again, with the constant commentary on him, it doesn't matter what his work rate is, because the work rate isn't the reason their defense sucks. And that's what a lot of people like to do, is blame him for the shit defense. Yeah. But we take those 3 points. Santangelo in here. You and I couldn't have been less enthused heading into this game, and just, I don't know, really just getting excited to watch them play is just not consistent at the moment. Realistically, this is just like, okay, we'll take the 3 points, I guess. It could have been a loss very easily with the chances that they were giving up. And, you know, in the reverse, if you're playing devil's advocate, Milan did create plenty of chances in the second half. I thought the second half was much better. Yeah, like, we've been texting all week, like, whatever, man. Like, 3 points, cool. Like, just, we'll take it. But Real Madrid's on the horizon, and it's looking scary with the way things have been playing. So going through the first half, Milan completely got outplayed in this one. We're lucky Daniele Maldini did not finish any of his chances. We're lucky that Monza got called for that foul in the build-up for the goal. I believe it was the foul in the build-up. Again, just all the constant issues that we've been talking about are persisting.
Yeah, I mean, this result didn't really tell us much of anything. It didn't answer many of the questions that we've had, right? It shows as a 1-0 clean sheet away to Monza, and on the surface, throughout the course of a season for a team that should be in that conversation for the Scudetto and should be at least in the conversation for a top 4 team, those results, you'll take those, right? It's a long season, especially ahead of a difficult match. If Milan were playing well this year and they didn't have a lot of these distractions or issues with their defense and some of the players like Rafa and the like, you would say, you know what, wasn't the greatest win. You get out of Monza, you take the result, and you head over to Real Madrid, right? But I think that fans are going to be picky, right? Because nothing's going well. The defense doesn't look good. The midfield, it looks good one match, it looks decent the other, or below average the other. I thought today was pretty good. I thought Fofana and Tijjani Reijnders were pretty good, probably in more or less in line with expectations. And the attack, you mentioned, they created chances, but I think everyone's going to be super picky. They're going to put everything under a microscope because things are going as badly as they are. And this match was no different. I think early on you had an understanding of how Monza, of course, 3 points is 3 points. I mean, it's a result that, look, beggars can't be choosers at this point. Milan are in a difficult spot. They do have the game in hand, so they're going to have to play that at some point in February, it looks like.
Yeah, February, yeah.
So we'll wait and see where things are at when they make that game up. But I think, right now it's one of those things where you're almost looking for a sign, right? Because I think that while you want Milan to win, while you want them to get results like they did today, does it prolong the inevitable? Like, did this result change any public opinion on whether they think Fonseca is the answer, whether they think Fonseca has the solutions and the ideas and the ways to get the most out of Rafa and some of these other players in this team? I don't think this did. What results like this do is that, yes, it's a win, and as fans of this club, you want to see them win. Obviously, I'm not of the belief and of the opinion that we should be saying, well, we want Milan to lose because we don't want Fonseca as the coach. I'm never going to be that fan. So for people who believe that, that's you. That's never going to be me, right? I'm never going to support my team losing just because I want a certain member of the team or the club out of the club. That's not going to happen. Yeah. But I think that when you look at this result, it's one of those things where, okay, Milan got the victory. The Atalanta-Napoli play tomorrow, I think, early on in the morning. And then you have the game in hand, and then you have the Real Madrid game. Now, do I look at it and do I think that if Milan lose to Real Madrid, that all of a sudden he's going to get fired? I don't think that's happening. I think truthfully, and this is just my own opinion on it, and my opinion is changing week to week, guys, because you thought the derby was going to be a jumping off point, and that was far from the case. I think that egos are getting in play here a lot with Fonseca, because if you look at optics and you look at things that are being said in the media by Fonseca, there's no issues with Rafa, yada, yada, yada. And then the pre-match, you saw that Fonseca and Ibrahimovic were on the bench talking. They looked chummy. And again, I'm not saying that the relationship's perfect, but this is a Ibrahimovic hire. This is a hire from Redbird. This is their first hire and appointment as coach. Pioli was not a hire by Redbird, right? So I could be looking into it too many things, but I'm hoping that regardless of what the situation is with Fonseca going forward, I'm hoping that it's not ego getting in play here, because Jerry, from what I understand and for what I kind of know about the guy, seems like he has a little bit of an ego. Ibrahimovic, we know who has an ego. And I'm hoping that it's not one of those things where we don't let go of Fonseca because it's going to look bad and reflect on us because we hired him. I could be thinking,
which is just always funny because they look bad regardless, and that's
right. They look terrible regardless. However you slice this, right? However you slice
the tone deafness of it. I was mentioning it. I think it was in the live, after the fact too, and it kind of alludes to your point that you were just making about the manager not being hired. Well, how Pioli wasn't hired by Redbird, etc. I think the same kind of goes for the managers, really, that weren't Zlatan. We're talking about, like Moncada was essentially appointed because they had to, right? Like, you sack Maldini, Masada leaves, the transfer window was I think they sacked them late June, correct? Or sometime in June. So, like, the turnaround to do everything to prep for that was a disaster. And they really just went with the guys that were
in place.
just there.
They didn't
It's
want to
not
do
like
too many drastic changes and completely overhaul management in
right?
one summer
Yeah,
because there was
because
a
they
lot
were
of
like,
work.
"Oh, we're keeping Pioli because we don't want to change too much, except we're getting rid of the one director or the directors that brought stability within the squad." Um, they chose not to extend Gazidis was another option of theirs, because they wanted Furlani to come in as CEO. Again, I think Mike Grella makes these good points on Paramount Plus about like, oh yeah, maybe Zlatan can make some more jokes while this stuff happens.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I think the one big point I really want to make, and Bonetti quote tweeted this, Matteo Bonetti, and it was Fonseca's quotes, and he was talking about how he's looking ahead to Real Madrid, and there's parallels there with that and the Brugge decisions of sitting him against Udinese, sitting him against Monza. Obviously, he comes on as a sub with that, which is just it's so funny to me. But the overall point was okay. So say for example, right, and I'm not saying this is what happened. Say for example that he is benched or sat for the 2 games because of looking ahead to this rotation with the schedule and all these games. And it's just funny because if that's the case and if that's true from Fonseca, then he should just come out and say that transparently. There is no transparency here,
Right.
right? Like we're seeing Leão get sat, bench, whatever you want to call it. The optics are bad. You tweeted about it again, I think. Like okay, you could go and say all these things, but the optics are horrible. The fact is you're sitting your best player, still in my opinion, he's still the best player for 3 straight games in Serie A when you're 11 points off at the top.
Yeah.
Regardless of like when that point total got to that rate against Napoli, I understand you're trying to juggle this competition and that competition, but it's funny to me that you're playing someone like Christian Pulisic who has a longer injury history more often than the guy who doesn't have an injury history in Leão. And I know there might be some more depth centrally or what he's trying to do, but you can't keep playing these games, where you're trying to get away with points and results
No.
without your best players. You have to put these guys in because guess what, too? If I'm looking at this, and I know this might sound negative, the 3 points against Monza is more valuable than maybe getting a draw at the Bernabeu because like that is such a highly unlikely result to begin with. The more important thing about where Milan are at currently, let alone Champions League, Serie A, is making top 4 again next year. Because you could talk about getting results against Real Madrid, which are going to be they would be very lucky to get one against them. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
we've all seen it. They're just coming off a beat down from Barcelona where they had like I think 9 offsides in the first
The
half.
whole Ballon d'Or situation.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And if we see what like Vinny and them are all like upset about, pick a worse time, to go and face this guy. It's like these guys. So for me, that's kind of where it comes strange, Cheater. I understand the situation against Napoli, but like, brother, you're not helping yourself out by making these decisions, and you're also not doing anything to put the team in a great position to win. Because yeah, Milan got the 3 points, but can anyone look at the table right now and tell me off the top of their head where Milan are sitting? Because it's not great. They're on the same amount of matches played before quite a few teams outside of Juve, and they're in 7th.
Yeah.
They're in 7th, and they haven't had that crazy of a schedule, Matt. Not that crazy.
Well, I think the one thing too with on the Rafa topic, when Fonseca comes out in the media, and you mentioned just now that if it was a matter of hey, he had a hamstring issue, we're trying to be precautious with it, and we're trying to make sure we're not risking him, then say that. But I think when you look at the past 3 games he's been benched, and all the kind of off-field media buzz and frenzy surrounding this relationship between the two, it's to me it comes off as all right, who are you trying to fool here? Because this goes back to the Lazio game that he was benched for.
Correct.
It's not like that never happened. He benched him for that game, and I think Fonseca benched him and Teo for that game as like
that one
to send a message, like an early on message, because that was what match day 3.
It was day 3, but I also think it's actually really from the Parma game because the Parma game
was terrible too. It was the carryover from that.
But then it only increased because like they got benched for that Lazio game. They came on as substitutes, and when that water break happened in that
Correct.
third match period,
That was
they're
the
across the
point.
pit. Yeah,
That
it's a
was
snowball.
the singular instance where I think Fonseca was trying to set a message and put his foot down, saying,
I agree.
you're not going to put forth the performances you did in the Parma game and expect to keep your job, and you're going to get your job strictly on the fact that you're Rafael Leão and Teo Hernandez, which at the time, truthfully, I didn't have much of an issue with Fonseca's doing that, because I think that you can't set a precedent where it's like, just because Teo is Teo and Rafa's Rafa, that they can dog it and they cannot put good performances in, and they should just keep their job based on that. But I think the way it's been handled after that has been very bad. Rafa's performances haven't been terrible, in my opinion. They haven't been what they were in the Scudetto winning season. But I think that this is where, again, media management, you as a man manager, your job is just not tactical and what they do on the training ground and what you do on a match day. It's also man management. And for all the faults that Pioli had with his lack of evolution with his ideas and his system, I didn't really ever have this concern that we were going to lose players in a sense of the changing room dynamic. I never felt really that was a big threat to that team. And I think that that's where Fonseca is really falling short. And it's a bit surprising to me, truthfully, because while I didn't claim to be a Fonseca expert, when this whole conversation about whether it was going to be him or Conceição or whoever as the coach, I felt that Fonseca seemed like a pretty respectable man. And I'm not saying he's not, but he seemed like he would be a guy that at the very least, that maybe where people had doubts over his ideas and his philosophy, he would at the very least have this changing room, fresh ideas, both Portuguese. He's coached in this league before, and he understands that, hey, like, Rafa's my guy. Like, I'm at the very least, I'm going to be good with managing the individual first and foremost. And you hear my dogs in the background, so I'm in a new setting for this podcast, so I apologize, guys. But that's what I kind of felt about Fonseca, and I think that when he says certain things like he has, everyone sees through that. I don't think that there's many people that believe that there's no issue. And whether you buy into the report from Antonio Vitiello that, all of this has fueled his agent to seek transfer options in January, make of that what you will. But I think where there's smoke, there's fire. And we know that Rafa signed a long-term deal for this club. He could have potentially left. We've seen players leave. I've seen Kylian Mbappe leave. Players leave. This is the modern era of football. Players leave. So, I don't think anybody would have been absolutely stunned if Rafa left on a free transfer. He committed to the club long-term. He got the number 10 shirt. He could have left. And does this spell the end of a cycle? I'm not saying it's going to happen in January. I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen in June. But would anybody be surprised that at how management and how Redbird and how Ibrahimovic sort of let this play out? Because now it's a matter of, hey, I'm the high profile. I'm supposed to be the guy at the center of this project, and you're basically letting Fonseca do what he's doing as the manager. It's almost basically Rafa's in a position where it's like it's him or me. Because unless Fonseca is that a power play by Leão and his agent to say, we might leave. Pick who you want. Do you want the coach who's going to continue to bench Rafa, your best player that helped you win a Scudetto, or do you want Rafa to stay? I'm not saying that's what it is, but this is not going to be the end of it, guys. A result against Monza is not going to be the end of it. Milan picking up these results is not going to put an end to it.
They need to just win. That's really all it is. He needs to contribute and score his chances.
But you look at performances like this too, Martino. And I know this is long-winded. We haven't done a podcast, and I don't even remember the last one we did. But if you look at results like this, you started Noah Okafor. And this is no slight on Noah Okafor.
Who missed an easy chance.
He missed an easy chance. People, in my view, overhyped the performance off the bench against Club Brugge. Mind you, a 10-man Club Brugge, right?
Yes.
He starts in this game, and
it's mediocre.
Did we feel better as a team? Like, I'm just saying. I'm not saying that
Rafa they almost conceded more chances with Noah on the field than they did without him.
I'm not saying Rafa is a perfect player. He's a fantastic finisher. He's this, and this, that he doesn't. I'm not saying that. My view as a fan is this. Ask yourself this question. Are we a better team with Rafa in the starting 11 or without him in the starting 11?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's easy. It's easy if you have a brain. But, people don't want me talking down on people. So I'm not going to go further into it.
Like, if Noah Okafor is going out
Zion,
there and being a world beater, fine. But
Yeah,
this
but
is
he's
a
not.
player
He's
that
He's not.
I like, but I think what we've seen from him in a year plus at this club, he does better off the bench.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying he shouldn't start certain games, and I'm not saying he shouldn't get opportunities.
Yeah, I'm okay with certain starts, but yeah, not when we're struggling. We just lost to Napoli the way we did. We had some rest. We have Real Madrid coming up. It's imperative to get a win. November is going to be a really difficult month in terms of fixtures too. So we get to Zion's comment here. Milan management. I think this is okay, Zion. I really appreciate all the comments that you give us. Great feedback. We appreciate your opinions. I think this is kind of bullshit. I think this is like a cop out for Fonseca. Fonseca he does not have a gun to his head where they're like play the 4-2-3-1 or else. He also made the decision. They all made the decision that Daniel Maldini was not good enough to play in this side. He was one of the better players on the pitch today between all 22 guys, right? What position does he play, Matt? Where we see Ruben Loftus-Cheek once again mess up a counterattack because he's incapable of playing through a final ball because he's not a number 10. We know we have multiple 8s within the squad. We know that we can bring a balance with a 4-3-3, which he has the option to do because, once again, he does not have a gun to his head. No one told him to sit Rafael Leão. No one told him to sit all these players. No one, in fact, even told him to keep up with Alvaro Morata when, again, today, I would like to say, why doesn't Camarda get a chance here? Because if Tammy's still not 100%, we're still forcing Morata at his age to get all these minutes. Like, is Camarda not good enough? Like, he's good enough to get minutes against Club Brugge, but and get on against Napoli, but he's not good enough to play against Monza. I understand the Futuro plays tomorrow, but I'm curious on the development. And again, we're forcing him to play for that long. I'm just like tired of it. There's been very marginal improvement, if that. The only positives you could take away from this season are results based. I don't think anything else. I think Reijnders and Pulisic are positives that you could look at too. But as a whole, as a team, I tweeted out the GIF of Lieutenant Dan not celebrating in Forrest Gump when it was New Year's, and that was just kind of my reaction after that Milan goal. And like a couple of people were like thinking that I had an agenda to do with the player. It has nothing to do with the player. What it is that I have no soul anymore. I don't feel anything.
They're winning.
I don't care.
I don't feel anything. Like it feels like they get the goal, but it's not like
when they won a game in 21-22 and they were progressing further to get back into the Champions League, right, for the first time in years. That I was happy about. That it felt like there was something to root for. There felt like there was some promise in the future. Mañana is a positive too, Andy. I agree with you.
Yeah.
But it's bleak. It's bleak. I'm not saying there's no future at all. I just think it's a lot more depressing considering what the potential is and how they're fumbling all of this. Because the reality was a Scudetto was won. They made it to a Champions League semifinal the year after, even though the defense in Serie A was garbage. They've regressed constantly.
Yeah.
In most areas. And I'm sorry, I'm just sick of it. And that shouldn't be the case when we finally have all this money and we're sitting here saying this again. That even a 1-0 performance, even Club Brugge, I think Ali just tweeted about it too. Okay, didn't feel deserved at all that we got 3 points, but I guess we'll take it. I'm only going to be proud when they give me something to be proud of. I'm going to be excited when there's something to be excited about. Right now, we're sitting our best player. We can't defend. We have been getting spotty results, dropping points against sides that we should never be dropping points against. We're getting some injuries to some key players like Agabia. There's been no consistency. Yeah. There's nothing to root for.
The defense hasn't turned a corner.
They're so lucky they got a clean sheet today. People are going to look back on a result like this in 5 years when they're going through, like, talking about, oh, was this Milan really that bad? Yes, it was garbage. They should have conceded 4 goals. They're lucky they didn't. it had nothing to do. That 0 on the scoreboard had nothing to do with the performance out there. The performance out there was awful defensively again. And again, someone was saying, "Oh yeah, all Tijjani has to do is be mediocre to take that
That
job
was
from
Matteo.
Emerson Moreno." It
And
wasn't Zanetti.
yeah, and it's 3 right backs. Like,
Bro, he can't. Dude, Tijjani is just. I think he's just lost. He's weighing over his head. He needs a loan. He needs to go play somewhere else. It can't be at Milan. It can't be. Quite a few players within the squad, and I don't want to beat a dead horse anymore because we're coming up on a half hour here. Are there any other final comments or thoughts on this kind of match? Like, what you would have liked to see differently? This is what this team's ceiling is. I think they're on their day. They'll pick up 3 points. But how often are they going to be on their day?
it's pretty
Not often.
stunning. The more you see performances like this get compiled, and really they haven't even gone compiled, so I don't even know why I use that word. But the more you see performances like this occur, and Milan kind of limp, crawl through the season, right? Before you know it, it's going to be 2025, and everyone's going to be in the market, and then they're going to be asking questions. Why aren't we spending money? Why aren't we giving Paulo Fonseca more of the players he needs?
Yeah.
Because they probably don't feel he's their guy anyway, right? That's going to be another thing that sets off Milan Twitter, right? They're not going to be able to wrap their head around that fact that we're a bad team right now. We're going to get to the January window and we're not going to spend again. That's
I can't even think about the January window.
If you're Redbird and your management, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Because if you spend, people are going to say, "Why are you spending money for a coach that everyone knows is not the answer?" And if you don't spend, people are going to say, "Well, why? What good is the revenue? What good is the profits? What good is all these things if you're not going to spend money and try to aim for something?" So that's a whole nother conversation. But the more that these performances get put together, it doesn't tell me anything about this club, what the future holds. And I think that was kind of like one of the big uplifting things about the previous Milan from, Maldini, Mazzara, like Elliott, like Pioli, that they're like 2020 was like, we had something we were like obviously aiming for. It was get to the Champions League. Paolo Maldini would say it in the media. Mazzara would say it in the media when asked about the budget and the market and all these sorts of things. Yeah. We need to be consistently in the Champions League. So everyone was like, we need to get back there. We got back there. Every result mattered. Even results like this, everyone was like happy and galvanizing around them because it was like, it was something we were going for. Then there was let's try to get deep in the Champions League. Then let's win let's Scudetto. Then let's go deep in the Champions League. We did that. Right now, it feels like we're not pushing for anything. It's another top 4 season. Like my view right now is this. We're on the outside looking in at the Champions League.
Okay.
Right? We have matches to play, yes. Mm-hmm. We're 25th and top 24 make the next phase. You play Real Madrid this week at the Bernabeu. We're not playing consistently in Serie A. Just make top 4. Maybe we find a way to get deep into the Coppa Italia and somehow we win that. That's my expectation right now. But it's unfortunate that that's the expectation because we've moved in such a way
you actually have
Scudetto that it's obvious there's a lack of ambition there. Obvious there's a lack of ambition there.
To me, I think management and ownership have zero trust, and they should have zero trust until they have this sort of summer or this stretch of results or hiring or signing that puts everything beyond doubts that like, okay, we're comfortable in the direction that we're headed. I don't think there is a singular person that is comfortable with what's going on. If you're a true diehard fan of this team who tries to look at it objectively, I think there's definitely positives. There's always positives that you could take away from things. However, there are not nearly enough positives to outweigh the negatives that we've seen in the past 18 months. So yeah, listen, like I was saying, my reaction to today, doing these types of things, they're for you guys. Mostly it's for us too, to kind of vent. For me, I'm ready to go to bed. I just don't care about today. Today was like whatever to me. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna think about this match in like a month or even 2 weeks, maybe
Yeah.
even tomorrow. It just means nothing. They got the 3 points. Cool. We'll see what happens against Real Madrid. Because like right now too, like if you get the 3 points here and you get embarrassed by Real Madrid, you know, like okay,
What questions did you answer? What doubts did you address? Nothing.
nothing. It's
I'm
gonna
not
get
saying, and I'm
worse.
not saying that you have to beat Real Madrid or even get a draw, but like
But Lille
confidence is
beat
such a
Real
low.
Madrid. But Lille beat Real Madrid, and teams have taken Real Madrid to draws that probably had no business with the talent on their field. Like that's what I think. That above all is what very much annoys people. And I know Inter is like the one outlier when it comes to that kind of stuff. Of like, oh my god, they won and got a result in a fixture we probably had no business in doing or getting from. Right? Every single time Milan have gotten a result this season outside of the derby has been like, okay, it's like we're supposed to do that. And then some of the dropped results, you're like, what the fuck? That should never be a thing. Why is that a thing? Why are
Yeah.
we seeing that? I can digest losing to Napoli, right? Because against Napoli, we're missing 5 to 6 starters. It's a good team. It's a well-drilled team. Um, I hate the way that we conceded that first goal for sure, but like I can digest that one, right? Torino, I can't. Parma, I can't. Fiorentina, I can't. Okay. Those are the ones that come to mind. And again, I know we dropped one before. I think it was like Napoli, maybe. But like just there's so many of them. Leverkusen not putting up a fight. See what else? I mean, the Liverpool results sucked. We blew the lead twice. No, we blew the lead once against Lazio. Just
Yeah.
sick of it. Just sick of it. There's no string of consistency. We're waiting for that. You could follow Matt everywhere that I was mentioning here on the ticker. You can subscribe to our channel here. We're gonna try and get a guest on. I think Milan play when? Tuesday, right? So if they play Tuesday against Real Madrid, 3 days against Real Madrid. So Tuesday against Real Madrid. We'll try and maybe do something in terms of a pod. We'll try and see with that. Let you guys know. Again, I have nothing to say. I just want to get out of here. Anything else?
No, man, I don't, I don't want to leave on such a negative note, guys, because I've talked to Martino many times, and we've said this off the tail of every episode. We really do appreciate you guys joining and coming into these conversations, especially after the good results, the bad results, and everything in between. And I don't want to be in that position where I'm just going to be like, nah, this team, I've given up on them. I don't care about results. Like, great, they did win. That's a good thing, right? As far as just taking the results only.
Yeah.
But I think it's just, we're fans of this team, and it's like on the feeling and emotion side, my reaction to it was the same as Martino's. I just didn't really feel anything. Like, we won the game. Even when Tijjani scored, I usually am like pumped, and
No.
it
I
just,
haven't been
I don't
pumped
know.
about a
I just
goal
didn't
since
feel
Gabby.
anything with this game today because it didn't answer any questions I had. It didn't. Okay, you know what? Like, maybe like all these issues going on with the club. Like, maybe this is the game. Like, we thump Monza, we go into that Real Madrid game, and maybe we draw and we look better. And it's like, okay, this is where maybe we can put together some results. But we're so week to week, and the guys, this is what I was talking to you guys weeks ago about. And I know some people in the comments of our podcast were a little bit upset the way I framed it. And if you took it that way, that's on you. I apologize if you thought I was attacking you. But this is where this is where I say temper your expectations, because people are going to go into the Real Madrid game, and if we get thumped 3-0, they're going to be outraged and all these sorts of things, and you should be mad. But like, you have to go into it with a very clear mind and feeling, and know that the way we're playing right now is not acceptable to even expect a good result against a team that good. We're not in a position where we should be going into the Real Madrid game and thinking we're going to beat them, we're going to get a draw. I would love that. But truth of the matter is this: we're here to tell it like it is. We love this club. Me and Martino have been doing podcasts for 6-7 years. I don't even know how long we've
It's
been
going to
doing
be 8 years
it.
soon.
8 years. We love this community. We love talking to you guys. We don't want to feel this way. We want to be uplifted and positive and upbeat about the direction of this club. But when you look at results like this, you look how things are going, the general vibe and pulse that you feel amongst Milanisti on Twitter, and even when we go to Football Factory in New York with like AC Milan Club New York, it's like people are in a very negative mindset. They don't feel confident that the way things are set up as far as the infrastructure and the organization of this team is heading in the right direction, at least on the field. So I'm not saying give up your fandom and not watch the games. I'm not saying that. We're going to be here no matter what. But it's just difficult, guys. And I know that this isn't the lowest point we've shared with you guys. You guys have been there in this conversation and in this arena, when we were in the banter era and before we even were in the Champions League and when the finances were bad and we weren't even spending really any money. This isn't the lowest point. So just continue to watch the games. We appreciate the support. Let's hope things turn around quickly. Let's hope we do head in the positive direction very soon. And yeah, guys, let's continue to support the team any way we can, even if it's, we don't have the greatest expectations for certain games. Still go out and watch those matches. Still go to your local, bar, pub, or meet up with a local group. Shout out to our main groups that, Martino always mentions. Keep doing that. Don't lose sight of what makes this club special and what makes this community special. And that's you guys. That's the fan base, right? Because the fan base is going to be there no matter what. So just want to thank you guys. Thank you guys for liking, subscribing, following us on Twitter, following us on YouTube. You guys are always in the comments, even after results like this, even after what happens, in the Champions League. So just continue to support us, and we do appreciate it.
Yep. Appreciate you guys so much. Thanks again. And if you joined a little late, you could always go back and rewatch at the start of the stream. If not, just go to the live tabs on the YouTube channel, and you'll find it right there. So Milan win 1-0, and hopefully we'll see you Tuesday. Take care.